Well, good evening, everyone. We are so excited to have you with us here at Connect Group. Here at the Heart, we believe that everything is about connection. Connecting with each other and connecting with the heart of God and connecting with our community. So if you're here in this room hearing this, then that means that you are the very essence of the vision and mission of the church here at the Heart, and that is connecting people to the heart of God. So we are so grateful for you guys to be here. I want to give a quick shout out to the leaders and hosts of these Connect groups. Without you, we wouldn't be able to fulfill this mission and vision. So we are very grateful for what you do. Thank you so much for taking time out of your week to make this happen. If it's your first time here at Groups, you are very, very welcome here. It's an open environment. You're able to speak your mind and be who you are. You don't have to say the right words or know the right scriptures or anything like that. You're also free to not share at all and just listen. The more we all share and the more we're all able to process, that's really how we grow in our faith. So you are, of course, encouraged to share. Now, we are in the middle of a series at the Heart entitled Enough. And in this series, what we've looked at is a couple different ways how we are enough because of what Jesus has done. We have enough because of what God has given us. We can look at it, take an inventory of our soul, an inventory of our spirit, and see that we have enough for what God has placed in front of us to do, for the decisions He has asked us to make. And this past Sunday, we took a little bit deeper dive into that, into what it means to have enough, and we looked at the story of faith. Now, I'm going to have a couple of scriptures come up on the screen when we have our questions come up. But what we looked at briefly is a story about a man named Moses. And you might know Moses from movies you've seen and stories that you've heard where he split the Red Sea and Pharaoh, let my people go, and all these big headlining stuff that Moses did. And it was all amazing and it was all great. But if we look at the beginning of the story of Moses, we don't see a man who was confident in his faith. We don't see a man who was ready to do whatever it took to be a part of God's plan. What we see is a man who didn't want to be a part of any of it. We see a man who took the time to convince God that he wasn't the man for the job. And maybe you're not like that, but I know that I can be like that, where I can take time to convince God or try to convince God that you got the wrong guy. I'm not the person for the job. I'm not qualified to do these amazing things that you want done for your people, for your community, for your church. And that's what we see in the story of Moses, is that he tried to convince God that he wasn't the man for the job. So as we get started tonight, we're going to have a few questions or to kind of dig into Sunday's message. So even if you didn't get a chance to be there, you'll still be able to listen to the podcast later on this week. Or even if you can't listen to any of it, you can still get some good juice out of these groups. So I want to encourage you to share even if you weren't able to be there on Sunday. So the first question I have for tonight is this. I want you to take some time and describe a time, or have you ever experienced something where you felt like you were supposed to do something, but you chose not to do it, right? You made the choice not to do something that you feel like you were meant to do, and how that choice has affected you in your life. Why don't you guys take some time to discuss that this evening? All right, the second question we have tonight is related to the first, but it goes a little bit deeper and deals with the issue of faith. The story of Moses is centered around the faith. Do you have enough faith? So I want you to discuss a time when you didn't have enough faith for something that you were facing, whether it was a problem or a person you were trying to trust, or something you were trying to trust God with, or something at work, something at school, something in another relationship. I want you to think of a time where you didn't have enough faith for the situation that was in front of you, or for the problem that you were facing. And because of that, because of the fact that you didn't have enough faith for that problem or that situation, what have you learned from that? I want you guys to take some time to discuss that. All right, this next question is a little in your face, and if you're bold enough and willing to share, I really believe that we can all learn a lot from what we're going through. And the question is this, is what are you facing in your life right now that you need faith for? What problem are you facing? What frustration do you have? What area are you trying to trust God with in your life? What are you facing right now that you need faith for? And is your faith enough for what you're facing? I want you guys to take some time to answer that together. All right, this next question is a little bit of a challenge for us to take throughout the week, right? The goal tonight is not to learn and make ourselves smarter. It's to learn and challenge ourselves to grow spiritually, to grow in our faith. So this is going to be a challenge, and it's based on a scripture that we looked at on Sunday in the book of Matthew, chapter 17, verse 20. And it's Jesus talking to people and saying, you don't have enough faith, because people were having trouble believing what Jesus was saying. They were having trouble believing that Jesus was who he said he was. So he says, you don't have enough faith. If you had faith even as small as a mustard seed, a small amount of faith. And I love when Jesus tells us how much faith we need to move mountains, how much faith we need to do the amazing things that God has in front of us, how much faith we need to do the impossible. He says you need faith as small as a mustard seed. And I think that small as a mustard seed is the exact amount of faith that Moses had when he went forward in God's plan, because he didn't believe it, he didn't want it, he didn't want to be a part of it, he didn't want to do it, but he had small, tiny baby Moses faith. So what I want to know from you, what I want you guys to take some time to answer is, what is the smallest step of faith that you are going to take this week to start trusting God in the area that you are facing, in the problem that you are facing, in the frustration that you're facing, in the anger that you're facing, in the jealousy that you're facing, whatever it happens to be? What is the smallest step of faith that you can and will take this week to trust God in that area? I want you guys to take some time to discuss.